Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get you genuinely well-informed. So today, we're plunging into a topic many of you might recognize, especially if you have connections to South Africa.
Right.
It's Mandela Day. Every July 18th, you see those images, right? People giving their 67 minutes.
Yeah, painting creches, collecting food parcels, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's presented as this act of goodwill. And it feels good. Maybe it even does some good.
That's definitely the common perception, isn't it? But our main source today is this really impactful op-ed.
Okay.
It's by Brian Adams. He's the CEO of the Surplus People Project. And he immediately hits us with this really unsettling question.
Which is?
What does it change? Simple as that. He really challenges us to think, could this annual ritual actually be a ritual of absolution?
Absolution. You mean something that soothes our conscience?
Precisely. Soothing conscience, he suggests, without actually shifting any power dynamics.
Wow.
So that's what this deep dive is about. We're going to explore what's really under the surface of this tradition, push beyond the usual headlines.
Absolutely. Our mission here is to unpack that powerful argument, really understand the implications,
Yeah.
and help you, our listener, get a truly informed view on these global issues that, let's face it, can sometimes be oversimplified.
Definitely.
So let's start with what's familiar. Mandela Day. It's widely celebrated in South Africa.
Oh, yeah. Big deal.
You see offices collecting food parcels, volunteers painting those community daycare centers, the creches.
Lots of corporate sponsorship, too.
Right. And these are generally seen as, good deeds, positive contributions.
On the surface, yes. But then the author, Adams, he introduces this really stark counterpoint.
Okay, what's that?
He says, charity cannot heal wounds that are still being inflicted.
Wow. Still being inflicted. That's strong.
It really is. And that's where the core of his argument kind of unfolds.
And he gives examples, right? He doesn't just leave it as a statement.
No, not at all. He talks about what he hears directly from people. Farm workers, farm dwellers in the Swartland.
That's just outside Cape Town.
About an hour outside Cape Town, yeah. He tells stories of illegal evictions, families just pushed into homelessness.
With nowhere to turn.
Often, yeah. And workers who've given decades of service dismissed with nothing. No pension, no UIF.
UIF, that's the unemployment fund in South Africa.
Exactly, because their employers just never registered them. It's shocking.
He also mentioned violence.
Yes. Daily violence faced by women and children, from farm managers, from poverty itself. And often, he says, the police or the state offer no protection.
That's grim.
And what's really crucial to understand, he says, is that these aren't stories from, ages ago or some far-off place.
This is happening now.
Right now. Current realities. He stresses they're not exceptional tragedies.
So not just isolated incidents.
No. He frames them as, and this is his phrase, the predictable result of a system that has not been dismantled.
A system.
Right?
Okay, that leads us somewhere else, doesn't it? To the bigger picture.
It really does.
And that systemic view points towards, corporations. We've seen this whole evolution in how companies talk about their duty, haven't we? From CSR.
Corporate social responsibility, yeah.
Then corporate social investment, CSI.
And now the big buzzword is ESG, environment, social governance.
Right. These were meant to show deeper engagement, weren't they?
Supposedly,
Yeah.
in theory. But the author argues that even with these changing labels, they often stay disconnected.
Disconnected from what exactly?
From the core issues, he says, like how land is actually owned, how workers are treated day to day, how value, money, profit is created, and who gets it.
So instead of tackling those root problems,
they offer, in his words, charity or investment at the margins rather than transformation at the root.
just tinkering around the edges, maybe.
That seems to be the critique.
And it's not just Brian Adams saying this, is it? The source mentions another voice.
That's right. Gillian Schutt, a writer known for her pretty sharp analysis.
Often controversial, I believe.
Can be, yes. And she called Mandela Day, quite pointedly, a neo-colonial exercise.
Neo-colonial. What does she mean by that?
She suggests Mandela's image gets sort of commodified, made safe for the privileged, stripped of its revolutionary history, its edge.
Here it comes.
A corporate ritual of virtue, she calls it. While these deep injustices just carry on, fundamentally unchallenged.
That's a heavy critique.
It is. And Brian Adams, through his work at the Surplus People Project, sees this stuff constantly.
Because he works directly with farm workers.
Daily. People resisting evictions, fighting for tenure security, their basic right to live and work on the land safely.
And he gives examples of this contrast.
Very striking ones. He says some of the very farms whose wines and fruit win international awards.
The ones we might buy in stores overseas.
Exactly those.
Yeah.
Are the same places where workers live in housing unfit for animals.
Unbelievable.
Where water and electricity are cut off to punish dissent. Where people get dismissed overnight. Where kids grow up always fearing eviction.
He has a term for this, doesn't he?
He calls it modern-day colonialism. Doesn't mince words.
Okay, so we've talked corporations. What about the government's role in all of it?
Ah, yes, the state.
The source is clear, right? Government has a deep responsibility. They have the laws, the budgets.
The mandates, the budgets, everything needed to uphold laws, prevent these evictions, enforce labor protections. It's all there.
But I sense a but coming.
A big one. This is where the author's criticism gets really sharp. He says state institutions often do nothing.
Nothing.
Or, he adds, worse, act in defense of the powerful.
Wow. Can you give examples from the source?
Yeah, he cites specific departments like land reform and rural development failing to provide housing or secure tenure for evicted people.
So people lose their homes and there's no backup.
Effectively, yes. Then there's the CCMA, that's the arbitration body.
Right, for labor disputes.
And the labor courts. He says they're so slow and workers' cases often so badly handled, it just leads to automatic losses for them.
So the system fails them again.
It seems so. And maybe most disturbingly, he notes police sometimes just stand by while evictions happen.
Standing by while people are being forced out.
That's the picture painted. The author calls this whole situation a betrayal repeated daily.
A betrayal. Okay, let's try and bring this closer to, well, to you listening. The author talks about the middle class and how, for many, Mandela Day becomes this comforting annual ritual.
Comforting.
Something that asks little, costs little, and risks nothing. Is that fair?
Well, that's the author's observation, and it leads into this moment of reflection he pushes for.
What kind of reflection?
He basically asks us to think, we can do our 67 minutes, post the photos.
Share it on social media.
Right, and move on without ever asking how our lives, our financial investments, our consumption are tied to the very system that keeps farm workers poor and landless.
Oof. That's a direct challenge, isn't it? About our own connection, maybe even our complicity.
It raises a really profound question about where we stand in relation to these systems.
And that leads right into, I think, the most crucial question in the whole piece.
Which is?
If Mandela Day doesn't or cannot confront these roots, injustice, landlessness, these extractive business models, racial capitalism.
All the deep structural stuff.
Exactly. If it can't confront that, then perhaps, the author asks, it is not solidarity at all, but complicity.
Complicity. That's the word he uses. It really crystallizes the core argument, doesn't it?
It does.
Business can't just wash itself clean with paint and food parcels if it's still exploiting and evicting. That's the point.
Right. And government.
Government can't talk about human rights if it fails to act when those rights are violated.
And society.
Us. We as a society can't really claim to have a clear conscience if we are not willing to dismantle the system itself.
So the big takeaway message here seems to be that Mandela Day could be different.
Potentially, yes.
It could shift from being, a ritual just to make us feel less guilty into a challenge to ask whose land we live on, who grows our food, and why inequality remains so persistent.
Asking the hard questions, basically.
Yeah.
And the author sums it all up with this really concise, powerful distinction at the end.
What's that?
Charity soothes the wound. Justice closes it.
Charity soothes, justice closes.
That's quite something to think about.
It really is.
A powerful thought to leave you with. We hope this deep dive, looking closely at this source material, has maybe offered a new perspective.
Food for thought, definitely.
So what stands out to you from this discussion? How might this distinction, this idea of charity versus justice, inspire maybe different questions or even actions as you engage with global challenges?